Section 1. On a Tuesday morning in downtown Hartford, Connecticut, a man crouched beside a sidewalk trash can. His coat was torn at the collar, his shoes were splitting at the soles. He moved quietly, methodically. Most people walked past without a second glance, but not Marcus Hale. Marcus owned Crestview Kitchen, an upscale restaurant whose gold lettering gleamed on the window directly above this man. 11 years he had built that place, and in his mind, this man crouching by his trash was ruining all of it. He stepped outside, crossed his arms, and loud enough for the entire sidewalk to hear, he said, "Hey, you're embarrassing this block. Get away from my restaurant before I call someone to remove you." The man looked up slowly, said nothing. He just looked at Marcus with calm, unreadable eyes. That silence should have been a warning. Section 2. Who is this man, really? His name was Gerald Odom, and 63 years of life had taught him one thing above everything else. The loudest people in any room are almost always the least informed. Gerald had grown up right here in Hartford. Son of a Jamaican-born machinist. Son of a seamstress who worked double shifts to keep 4 children in clean clothes and full stomachs. He watched his parents scrimp and sacrifice for decades. He watched his father die at 61 from a heart condition he could not afford to treat. That memory never left Gerald. It didn't leave him when he bought his first property at 32. A single duplex for $47,000 that most investors wouldn't touch. It didn't leave him as he quietly acquired 14 more buildings across Hartford County over the next 3 decades. And it certainly didn't leave him the morning he decided to walk his portfolio on foot. No driver, no suit, no phone. Just the way his father used to walk through the neighborhood. To feel what was real. The torn coat, his father's, kept for 20 years. The shoes, split on purpose. Gerald believed you learned more about a block when people thought you had nothing. And the paper bag he pulled from that trash? Inside was a crumpled lease agreement, discarded by a former tenant. It contained an address Gerald recognized immediately. The address of Crestview Kitchen. Section 3. The mockery escalates. Marcus didn't wait for an explanation. He turned back toward the restaurant's glass door, pulled out his phone, and said, loudly, casually, the way someone speaks when they're performing for an audience rather than solving a problem. "I'm calling the city. You people always end up back on this block. You people." 2 words. Delivered without hesitation. A woman walking past slowed down. A delivery driver across the street stopped and watched. A young hostess inside the restaurant looked away uncomfortably. Gerald stood up, straightened slowly. He was taller than Marcus had apparently expected. "I'm not bothering anyone," Gerald said quietly. "You're bothering me," Marcus shot back. "And that's enough. This is a business district. We have standards here." He gestured broadly at Gerald's appearance, the coat, the shoes, the paper bag, as if the visual alone made his case for him. He looked back at the delivery driver, as if expecting agreement, as if this were entertainment. Gerald looked down at the document in his hand, then back at Marcus. "What's the name of your landlord?" Gerald asked. Marcus laughed. an incredulous, dismissive laugh that carried half a block in each direction. What does that have to do with anything? Gerald folded the document slowly, tucked it back into his coat pocket. Just making conversation, he said. But he wasn't. Section 4. The reveal that changed everything. 3 days later, a certified letter arrived at Crestview Kitchen.
The hostess, who had looked away from the window, signed for it. She didn't know what it contained. She set it on Marcus's desk beneath a stack of vendor invoices and thought nothing more of it. Marcus opened it that evening, after close. The letter came from Odom Property Holdings, LLC, a name Marcus had seen before, on the bottom of his original lease agreement from 11 years ago. He had always assumed it was some faceless management company. He had mailed his rent checks to a P.O. box every month for a decade, and never once thought to ask who actually owned the building beneath his gold lettering. He read the letter twice. It was a formal notice of lease review, initiated under a clause that permitted the property owner to reassess commercial tenancy following documented incidents of conduct unbecoming on property grounds. Attached to the letter was a photograph, time-stamped, clear, taken from the restaurant's own sidewalk-facing security camera.
Marcus Hale, pointing, phone raised. And below the photograph, a single line. The individual in this image is Gerald Odom, sole owner of the property located at 1140 Crestview Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut. The premises currently occupied by Crestview Kitchen under lease agreement CR 2013-04. Marcus sat down. He thought about the torn coat, the quiet eyes, the question, "What's the name of your landlord?" He thought about "you people," delivered to a sidewalk audience. His lease was up for renewal in 47 days. Gerald Odom had not yet indicated whether he intended to renew it. He had, however, sent a copy of the letter to the Hartford Business Journal. They published it the following morning. Section 5. Justice served. By noon that day, the story had moved well beyond Hartford. Comments poured in from people who recognized something in it. Not just the drama, not just the real estate twist, but something older, something more familiar.
The specific arrogance of people who mistake someone's appearance for their worth, who perform cruelty for an audience, who say, "you people," like it costs them nothing. Gerald Odom gave one interview, a short one. He said he hadn't planned any of it. He said the coat and the shoes were habit, his way of staying connected to the version of himself that started with nothing. He said he bore Marcus Hale no particular anger. He did not renew the lease. The space at 1140 Crestview Avenue is currently occupied by a non-profit culinary training program for formerly unhoused adults, operating rent-free under a 5-year agreement with Odom Property Holdings. Marcus Hale's new restaurant opened 6 months later in a different part of the city. The reviews have been mixed. If this story reminded you that quiet people are often the most dangerous ones to underestimate, you already know what to do. Drop a comment below, and don't go anywhere.
The next one is even better.